What's up, guys? I'm Cody Brockway from Brockway's Vinyl Bites and from Breaking Prog. Woohoo! And today we are talking about my 20 Desert Island prog rock / prog metal albums. Now, as you know, with favorites of any sort, of course, all favorites can change by the day and how you're feeling that specific day. One day your favorite Yes album could be Relayer, the next day it could be Close to the Edge. It depends on how you're feeling that day, but typically, if I was to get shipped off to some desert island of sorts and someone said, bring 20 albums, any of these 20 albums could pretty much fit me on any given day for the most part. I'll never tire of these records. They're all totally amazing, and even if they're my favorite or not, if I was to get shipped off to a desert island, these albums absolutely fit the bill. Honorable mentions before we crack into the top 20 list. I've got 6 honorable mentions here I want to talk to you about. All of these are totally 10 out of 10, supreme S-tier, amazing albums. But we've got Relayer from Yes. We've got Foxtrot from Genesis. We've got In the Court of the Crimson King from King Crimson. We've got Brain Salad Surgery from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. We've got Moving Pictures from Rush, and we have A Passion Play from Jethro Tull. Now to break into the top 20, it's important to note that I did the no repeat band or artist rule here. So that's hard, because I've got some Genesis and Yes and stuff in here, and I could have picked easily 10 albums from each band. But, if we're being shipped off to a desert island, why not have 20 different artists for 20 different forms of variety in our prog rock, shall we? So number 20, we've got Fear Inoculum from Tool. Now, I was into Tool before this, but this is the album that really cemented me as a Tool fan. This is really the one that blew open the doors and into the whole progressive metal scene thing. Like I said, I had already heard Tool from when I was much younger from my dad, showing me songs like Sober and Schism and so on and so forth, but this album, I got it the day before it came out, and I was playing it in my car, and I was blown away by how great it was. The drumming is totally insane. Danny Carey is just a god behind the kit. I've seen them twice in concert, once in 2019 and once last year, which was 2023. It was totally fantastic. Each song on this album is 10 minutes and longer. The longest song ever that Tool ever created is on this album. It's called Tempest, and it's 15 minutes. And but listening to this album, it goes by, and it doesn't feel like there's a single note wasted. So that's a great album, top to bottom. If you ask me, it's one of my absolute favorites, and it definitely makes the top 20 on my desert island on my desert island trip, I guess. But yeah, Fear Inoculum from Tool. That makes my top 20. Next up at number 19, we have a solo album from a Yes member. My favorite one, my favorite album, Fish Out of Water from Chris Squire. I love the Rick Wakeman and John Anderson albums and the Bruford albums and all those, but this one takes the cake for me. I think it's just totally incredible, and it's got Bill Bruford on it too. Just a totally masterwork album. You've got Safe, Cannon Song, you've got Lucky 7, Hold Out Your Hand. It is definitely an essential prog album, and it has to be in your collection if you're into this type of music. That's my number 19. R.I.P. Chris Squire, love you very much. Love your music. Number 18, we've got Power and the Glory from Gentle Giant. Wow. What can I say about this album that I haven't already said before? It is this totally beautiful, chaotic, wonderful, insane. I just totally love it. It's got So Sincere, it's got Aspirations. It is just such a totally fantastic album. You got the Shulman Brothers, you got Kerry Minier on here just playing away, John Weathers on drums. It's just a totally fantastic album, and none of the songs are over like 7 minutes. Like these guys know how to pack a lot into a 5-minute tune. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I love it. The Power and the Glory, Gentle Giant. That's my number 18. At number 17, we have a modern day epic conceptual prog rock masterpiece album. It's the latest one from the band Transatlantic. That's right, the album is The Absolute Universe. What a totally fantastic album, top to bottom. Just goes through these wonderful peaks and valleys, and it flows together so well. I love the surround sound mix of this too. I got the 5.1 DVD. It's really nice to listen to in surround sound. But it's just totally an awesome album, no matter which way you slice it. It's got the song Rainbow Sky, which I feel is very much a homage to the Beatles. Now, you know, I'm a big Beatles fan, so I picked up on that immediately, and I think that's a great song. Every track, every note of music on this album is totally fantastic and perfect, but it ends with one of my favorite songs that Neil Morse ever wrote. It ends with a song called Love Made a Way. Oh my God, I love that song. It is so beautiful. It's one of the best songs I've ever heard, one of the best songs he's ever wrote. And, you know, even if this ends up being the last transatlantic album, which they're talking about, you know, due to Mike rejoining Dream Theater, then that song in this album is quite a way to go out. I hope they come back and make more music together, but hey, what can you do? Anyway, so number 17 is The Absolute Universe from Transatlantic. At number 16, we're going into a more metallic direction. This band has definitely leaned more into their progressive leanings over the last 35 years, while still they're very much a heavy metal band. But we've got A Matter of Life and Death from Iron Maiden. These guys are no strangers to the appreciation of prog. You know, these guys all talk at length about how much they love the Moody Blues and Van der Graaf Generator and Jethro Tull, just as much as they do Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and all the other heavier side of things too. But this album from 2006, Matter of Life and Death, it's one of their proggiest outings for sure. We've got The Pilgrim, The Longest Day, Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, and of course we've got the reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg. What a powerhouse album this is, totally as a whole, and it's just totally incredible. Matter of Life and Death, Iron Maiden, that makes up my number 16. And number 15, we're going to the self-titled album from UK. Wow, what a crazy band these guys are. UK, we got Alan Holdsworth, Eddie Jobson, John Wetton, and Bill Bruford in the fold. We've got the track In the Dead of Night, one of just the most essential prog tracks ever. We've got Alaska, Time to Kill, Mental Meditation, just totally fantastic album. Absolutely. If I'm getting shipped off to a desert island, this album's gotta come. That's my number 15. And at number 14, we've got Metal from Pink Floyd. Yeah, wow, what a classic, moody album this is. Oh, wow. It starts off with that really dark and haunting One of These Days. The song builds and builds from that bass riff that it starts with. And then it just builds up over the first 3.5 minutes till it explodes with the One of These Days, I'm gonna chop you into a million pieces. And the drums come in. Wow, what a great track. And of course that chaos then leads into the next track, which is A Pillow of Winds, which is this beautiful acoustic David Gilmour led track. Just totally awesome. We've got Fearless, which is another favorite song of mine. We've got Saint-Tropez, and of course we've got Seamus, which is the song about the dog. But then we get to side 2, the epic 22-minute album closer, Echoes. One of Pink Floyd's most brilliant tracks, one of their best outings ever, is this whole album, Metal. I just love this album, and that's my number 14. So at number 13, we have the classic album, Night at the Opera from Queen. Yes, it's totally a masterpiece, and it is definitely prog. The way all the songs flow into each other, it's almost like you're actually spending the night at an opera when you listen to this album. Of course, that's what the intention was when they made it. You know, Sweet Ladies and 9/8 timing. Then you get the 8.5-minute Prophet song with that really cool vocal bit in the middle and that heavy guitar when it comes back out. Lots of time changes in that song as well, all throughout. That's just a crazy tune, the Prophet song. Then that leads into Love of My Life. Of course, at the end of the album, you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a track that, you know, just in 6 minutes takes you around the entire world and back in just that 6 minutes. So yeah, definitely a prog rock masterpiece. There's no question about it. And it's deserving of being number 13 on my list of Desert Island albums. So Queen, one of my favorite bands of all time, with one of my favorite albums of all time, Night at the Opera. Number 12, we got the Mahavishnu Orchestra. We got Birds of Fire. Yeah, this is more like a jazz fusion album, but I'm still putting it here. Absolutely, you know, we got Rick Laird on bass, John McLaughlin on guitars, Billy Cobham. Oh, Billy Cobham, wow. I'm a drummer, and I totally love what Billy Cobham does. He's just one of the best drummers ever. We got Jerry Goodman on violin and Jan Hammer on keyboards, Moog synthesizer, Fender Rhodes, all that fun stuff. It's just totally an incredible record. I love it. Birds of Fire, Mahavishnu Orchestra. That's my number 12. Number 11, we've got Dead Wing from Porcupine Tree. Oh, yes. Steven Wilson, Gavin Harrison. Fantastic. Gavin Harrison's one of my favorite drummers. I love this record so much. We've got Arriving Somewhere But Not Here. We got Shallow, Halo, Open Car. This whole album is just fantastic. I love every song. It's my favorite Porcupine Tree record. And, despite the fact that they're all great, I love In Absentia and Closure Continuation and Fear of a Blank Planet and all those. But this one is, I return to this one so often. I just love it so much. It's my number 11. Masterpiece, fantastic record. Porcupine Tree, Dead Wing. Now we bust into my top 10 with another masterpiece. Of course, this time it's one from Frank Zappa. It's One Size Fits All. Oh my God, I am just totally in love with this album. We've got Andy, Florentine Pogan, Can't Afford No Shoes, all these great tracks. It's just, there's not a second of music that's gone to waste here, but of course we're talking about Inca Roads. Oh my gosh, Chester Thompson. He is a freak of nature behind the kit. I'm telling you, no wonder the Genesis guys wanted him so much, because he's just awesome, and his drumming on this album is just totally incredible. And Inca Roads, I think, is one of the greatest compositional pieces ever written. I'm totally obsessed with this album, and I just love it very much. So Frank Zappa's One Size Fits All. That's my number 10. Number 9. Another album I'm super obsessed with. I'm obsessed with all these albums, what can I say? But anyway, number 9, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. An incredible concept album from Prog Rock, prog metal outfit. Dream Theater. This came out in '99. Oh my gosh, the way this whole album is set up, it's a concept, and it tells a story of a gentleman who keeps seeing this girl recurring in his dreams, and so he ends up going through regression therapy to find out who she was, and he finds out that he actually was her in a previous life. Of course, there's more to it, but that's just the story in a nutshell. And oh my gosh, the whole album is just incredible. Through Her Eyes, Fatal Tragedy, Dance of Eternity. I actually have a drum video up of me playing that song, so I will drop that in the description. I'll drop a link to that in the description. But arguably my favorite Dream Theater song of all time, "The Spirit Carries On," is on this album. So yeah, I think this album is bloody incredible. And so that's my number 9 is Dream Theater's Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. Just absolutely incredible album. Number 8. It sounded really good here on the desert island. You might want to come join me. And number 8, we've got Discipline from King Crimson. Yeah, this album is just totally fantastic. It is the first album with the lineup of Tony Levin, Adrian Belew, Robert Fripp, and Bill Bruford. Naturally, Robert Fripp and Bill Bruford were there for years previously, but this is when, after they went on a sort of hiatus there for a bit, they came back, recharged and reformed to face the 80s. John Wetton from the previous lineup had gone on to do Asia and such at this point. And anyway, yeah, King Crimson, Discipline, one of the greatest albums of all time. The drumming on it is just totally fantastic. Bill Bruford, in one of his finest moments. Of course, there's very many throughout his storied career. Well, the album opens up with a track called Elephant Talk, which features a very manic-sounding Adrian Belew behind the vocals. I just love his singing. I love his whole style. I love his guitar playing. I think he's an excellent musician, and he's a great addition to King Crimson. Anyway, we got Elephant Talk. We've got Frame by Frame. We've got Thelahan Jinjit, Mate Kudasai. All amazing songs. We've got In Discipline, which this track kind of sounds like Bill Bruford was locked up in a cage for a while, and then they let him out, and he got behind the drums and was just giving her, right? Of course, but like I've mentioned previously, Bill Bruford always gives her. He's a fantastic drummer, one of the best I've ever heard. And the album closes with a track called Discipline, and that's just a really, really great, interesting way to end the album. It's got that riff from Robert Fripp that's in 5/8, and then that keeps repeating, and Bill Bruford comes in with a groove that's 4/4, and his drumming only meets up with the guitar playing every however many bars. It's totally prog, and I just totally love it. It's a masterpiece. It's incredible. That's my number 8. King Crimson, Discipline. Number 7, we've got Rush with the Hemispheres album. Oh, 1978. This album is totally incredible. It opens up with Cygnus X1, Book 2, Hemispheres, which is 18 minutes. It takes up the first side of the album. Then, of course, on side 2, we've got Circumstances, The Trees, and La Villa Strangiato. Oh, that's a drummer's delight, as, of course, all Rush songs and albums are, but you know, if you can play La Villa Strangiato, you might be onto something there. You know, that's a really intricate drum track, and I actually learned how to play it. It's a lot of fun if you can get it down. If you can get it down note for note, it's a lot of fun. And on my other channel, Cody Brockway Drums, I actually did a drum cover of that too. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll actually grab the link from that and I'll put it in the description, as well as the Dream Theater track I mentioned before. But anyway, this album is just totally incredible. It is a prog rock masterpiece, and it is the last album of Rush to feature a sidelong epic. But yeah, that's my number 7. Rush, Hemispheres. Number 6, we've got the debut album from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Now, of course, Keith Emerson had come from a band called The Nice, and Greg Lake had come from King Crimson from the very first 2 albums, and Carl Palmer had come from Atomic Rooster and The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. That guy was crazy, man. He wasn't kidding when he said it was The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. But, you know, these guys came together as a 3-piece, and they formed and made some of the best music ever. But today, as my number 6 on this list, we absolutely have to talk about the debut album. You know, it's got Lucky Man, it's got Knife Edge, it opens up with the Barbarian, just a totally fantastic track, which is also another one that I did a drum cover for. It's got Tank, it's got that great drum solo in the middle of Tank, and you know, there was nothing else really like it actually at all when it came out. It was very much. It just sort of blew open a whole bunch of doors. It came out in 1970, right? No one had ever really heard a Moog synthesizer the way that they played it on this album. The instrument was still new at the time. And so, you know, at the end of Lucky Man, when Keith Emerson comes in for the solo at the end of that song, people heard it for the first time and went, "What the heck is that? Oh my gosh." That that whole solo that he does at the end. Oh, that's just, and that's a great song to conclude a totally epic album. That's Lucky Man from the very first Emerson, Lake and Palmer album, just titled Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It is a prog rock masterpiece, classic record. And if you disagree, you're wrong. Anyway, that's my number 6 on my 20 Desert Island Prog albums. Number 5, we're cracking down into the top 5. Wow. Here we go. We've got So from Peter Gabriel. I've always known that this would be one of my Desert Island albums if it ever came down to it. And yeah, it absolutely is. It's my number 5, Peter Gabriel So. Just totally fantastic album, top to bottom. You know, we got Red Rain, we got Sledgehammer, we got that beautiful duet with Kate Bush, Don't Give Up. We got that Voice Again. Just totally fantastic. In Your Eyes, Big Time. There's a lot of pop hits on this, but it's still definitely a prog album. We got Mercy Street. It's a totally incredible album, no matter which way you look at it, really. No matter what way you slice it. No matter what way you slice it, Peter Gabriel, So, absolutely fantastic album, and it is my top 5. My number 4 is another former Genesis alumni member. It is the very first solo outing from Mr. Steve Hackett, Voyage of the Acolyte. Wow, this guy came out swinging. And he brought some guys from Genesis with him. Phil Collins is on the drums and even sings lead vocals on a track. And of course, we've got Mike Rutherford handling the bass duties on this record. And maybe he's doing some 12-string stuff too, I'm not sure. But yeah, wow, what an awesome album. Steve Hackett, what a genius. I've seen him 7 times. I just love him so much, and I've interviewed him before and everything. I've met him numerous times. He's fantastic. But this album, Voyage of the Acolyte, absolutely incredible. We've got Ace of Wands. We've got Star of Sirius. Some of the best musicianship ever. This album is just totally awesome. Of course, it ends with The Shadow of the Hierophant. And I've seen him multiple times live, and pretty much every time I see him live, he plays the last 6-7 minutes of that song, The Shadow of the Hierophant, and his band just totally gets right into it. You know, they just totally nail it. And, you know, all consummate professionals in that band, just great musicians. But, yeah, number 4, Voyage of the Acolyte. That's a good one. Voyage of the Acolyte from Steve Hackett. It should have been Voyage of the Acolyte. Anyway, That's my number 4. Number 3, we're going to Genesis. We've got my favorite Genesis album, Selling England by the Pound. This album is one of Prog's definitive albums, and it's one of prog rock's finest and best moments. And, I doubt that there's any prog rocker out there that would disagree with that statement. It is such a fantastic album, top to bottom. Not a moment of music is wasted. Every track is just totally awesome. We've got a lot of epics on here. We've got Dancing with the Moonlit Night, Firth the Fifth, Cinema Show, Battle of Epping Forest, and the shorter tracks like I Know What I Like, More Fool Me, Isle of Plenty. Those are all great tracks too. There's no sleeper anywhere on this list at all. We've just we've struck gold with all of these albums that we've mentioned here. But Genesis, Selling England by the Pound, my favorite Genesis album, totally fantastic, just an epic record top to bottom. So yeah, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Steve Hackett, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, some of the greatest musicianship in all of music right here on this album. Love all 5 of those guys very much. That's my number 3, Selling England by the Pound, Genesis. Number 2, we've got Close to the Edge by Yes. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. One of the most definitive landmark prog rock epic albums ever made. Just totally amazing, top to bottom. There's only 3 tracks on it. Of course, side 1 would be the epic track, which comes in about 19 minutes long. Of course, that's the title track, Close to the Edge. Then on side 2, we have 2 tracks that are both 10 minutes in length. We've got And You and I and Siberian Katru. Wow, fantastic album. And it's even cracked the top 5 on the Billboard Top 200 when it came out. So right on, yes, that's an impressive feat to be able to do that. Love that for them. Great album. One of the most influential prog albums ever made, too. Of course, we have stellar drumming from Bill Bruford. This would be his last album with Yes before he would go to join King Crimson, of course, which we've already talked about. But his playing on this is absolutely fantastic. Then it's the same with Chris Squire on the bass, one of the absolute best musicians to ever pick up a bass ever. R.I.P. Chris Squire. And John Anderson on vocals, one of the most angelic, beautiful, wonderful singers ever. Steve Howe's guitar work is just totally amazing on this album. And Rick Wakeman, the keyboard wizard, one of the keyboard wizards. He's up there with Tony Banks and Keith Emerson. Those guys are just in a league on their own. Fantastic, fantastic Rick Wakeman. And he actually lays down what I'd consider to be the greatest organ solo of all time. Just after the 14-minute mark in the title track, Close to the Edge, he just rips this amazing keyboard solo. That whole song is just totally fantastic. The way it just flows, it's got these peaks and valleys, and it's got these different moods and movements, and it sort of reprises itself at the end when it comes back with that, now that you're fine, now that you're whole. I'm not a very good singer, folks, but hey, go check it out yourself, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a very chill-inducing moment. Your whole torso will just, every hair will stand up on your whole body when you hear that. That track is just so amazing, and that conclusion at the end where it just builds up to that, and then it just, that release is just, it's a musical orgasm is what I would consider that. And of course, side 2 is just totally amazing as well. You have that beautiful, moody track, And You and I. Just fantastic. The whole 10 minutes is just bliss. And then the album ends with Siberian Katru, which is that 10-minute track, or just nearly 10 minutes. It's about 8 minutes, I guess. But it's got that really upbeat vibe to it. Lots of cool changes throughout. Just fantastic. And it concludes a really epic album. So yeah, that's my number 2 choice is Yes, Close to the Edge. Now, number 1, arguably the greatest concept album of all time. It tells the story of an 8-year-old genius named Gerald Bostock. Yes, of course, it is Thick as a Brick from Jethro Tull. That is my number 1 Desert Island Prog album. Just amazing. Barrymore Barlow's drumming on it. Martin Barr's guitar playing, of course, Ian Anderson's concept with the lyrics. And the whole album plays out as one 45-minute song, even though they had to split it up into 2 parts to fit side 1 and side 2 on a vinyl, right? On a vinyl record. But yeah, it is, it's essential. It's an essential prog album, and it's my number 1 on the list here. Wow, what a daunting task to pick your 20 prog albums that could make up your Desert Island list. And to end it off with that masterpiece that's thick as a brick, Jethro Tull, just, you know, just fantastic musicianship and great lyrics, a great concept. The whole thing is just an excellent album on all fronts and all respects. Whew. Wow, well, we made it through that daunting task. We got through my top 20 desert island prog rock and prog metal albums, and we didn't repeat any bands or artists, so if you were to send me off to a desert island with these 20 albums, I think I'd probably go, no hesitations. Sounds like it'd be a really good time. We got a really nice eclectic mix, including everything from all over the progosphere here, and so yeah, I'll go to that desert island anytime. Well, thank you so much for enjoying today's show. We are breaking prog with Brockway's Vinyl Bites. I'm Cody Brockway. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much, and rock on!